Hawaii is canceled, my daughter said, but a few days later I saw her vacation photos. Dad, Hawaii is canceled. Financial problems. That's what my daughter, Celeste, told me over the phone. I believed her because I always did. I trusted every word, gave her my whole heart. But a week later, I saw something on Facebook that shattered that trust completely. There they were. Celeste, her husband Stuart, and my in-laws, the Morrisons, on a sunny Hawaiian beach. Smiling, glowing, carefree. The caption read, "Best family vacation. Ohana time. Family. Just not mine." A month later, Celeste came to me again, this time asking for $100,000. I didn't give her money. I gave her something else. Something that made her faint. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to where this began. The phone had rung twice before I realized my hand was shaking. Celeste's name glowed on the screen. Second call that week, which was unusual for her. "Dad," she said in that calm, practiced tone she used with clients at her marketing firm, "we can't do Hawaii. I'm so sorry." The afternoon sun pouring through my living room suddenly felt too bright. On the couch beside me sat shopping bags, Hawaiian shirts still neatly folded inside, tags attached. "I bought them just 3 days ago." "What happened, honey?" I asked. "Stuart's company is downsizing. There's a chance he might lose his position. We just can't afford any trips right now. I know you were looking forward to it." Her words were smooth, careful, rehearsed almost. But I brushed the thought aside. My daughter was in trouble. "Honey, I understand," I said softly. "The trip isn't important. What matters is that you and Stuart get through this. If you need anything at all, you know I'm here." Silence. Then she exhaled. "No, Dad. We need to handle this ourselves. But thank you. That means a lot." We hung up. I set the phone down and stared at those shopping bags. Just a week earlier, she called me brimming with excitement. "Dad, what if we did Hawaii together? End of March, just you, me, and Stuart. Real family time." It had filled me with a warmth I hadn't felt in years. I hadn't seen her in 4 months. I stayed up late that night, researching Maui restaurants and snorkeling tours, marking pages in a guidebook I ordered from Amazon. I booked a tour to Malakini Crater. Great reviews, fair price. I even imagined her reaction when she saw the coral reefs. The next day, I got a haircut, bought sunscreen, picked out Hawaiian shirts at the department store. When the saleswoman asked if it was for a special occasion, I smiled. Vacation with my daughter. That line had felt good to say. But now, that dream had turned to dust. The next morning, I returned everything. The shirts, the sunscreen, the tour booking. One by one, I erased every trace of a trip that would never happen. Days passed. I called her a few times, left messages. "Just checking in, sweetheart. How's Stuart holding up?" She replied by text, always brief. "Busy dealing with everything. We'll call soon." Then silence. By the end of the week, I stopped calling. I told myself she needed space. But a feeling lingered. Something wasn't right. That evening, the house was too quiet. The sunset painted the sky in orange and purple as I sat at the kitchen table. My eyes drifted to my laptop. Maybe she'd posted something online. I rarely used Facebook, but people shared their lives there, didn't they? It took me 3 tries to log in. My news feed loaded slowly. Old colleagues, random posts, nothing important, until I saw it. Celeste's post. Her and Stuart standing on a beach, sunset behind them. The Morrisons beside them, smiling like a magazine ad. The caption, "Best family vacation. Hawaii dreaming." I clicked through the photos, each one like a punch to the chest. Celeste laughing in a flower crown beside her mother-in-law. Stuart holding a cocktail on a resort balcony. Then one that made my stomach twist, snorkeling gear, the same tour company logo I'd booked. Malakini Crater Tours. The same tour. The same dates. I sat there in the dark, breathing slow. No rage, no shouting. Just clarity. Years in real estate had trained me to document first, react later. I took screenshots, every photo, every comment, every timestamp. 17 files in total. Then I closed the laptop and sat in silence. She lied. Deliberately. Calmly. Smoothly. That night, I opened a notebook and wrote on the first page. What I know. What I need to know. Celeste lies easily. Why? What does she want? Then, beneath it, Don't call. Don't text. Don't let her know I know. Wait. Watch. Learn. 3 days after she returned from Hawaii, she started calling again. I didn't answer. For voicemails, growing more anxious each time. The fourth one said, "Dad, I'm getting worried. I'm coming by this afternoon." I glanced at my watch. 2:47 p.m. At exactly 3 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Celeste stood there holding a coffee tray, face full of concern. "Dad, I was worried. You didn't answer your phone. Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I said, stepping aside. "Just busy with some things." We sat in the living room. She started talking fast. "Work's been crazy. The campaign deadline moved up. Stuart's been putting in long hours. You know how it is." She didn't mention Hawaii. Not once. She was testing the waters, waiting to see if I knew. I gave her nothing. Just polite nods and short answers. 15 minutes passed in awkward silence until she finally asked, "Dad, is something wrong? You seem distant. Did I do something?" I looked at her and said quietly, "I'm the same as I've always been, Celeste. Maybe you're the one who's changed." Her eyes flickered, just for a second. I leaned forward slightly. "How's Stuart's job? That downsizing you mentioned?" She blinked. "Oh, that. False alarm. Everything's fine now." "I'm glad to hear it," I said evenly. "Must be a relief." Her smile faltered. She stood abruptly. "I should get going. Stuart's expecting me." "But Dad, please answer next time." I really was worried. I watched her walk to her car and drive away. Then I returned to my desk, unlocked the drawer, and opened my notebook. On a new page, I wrote, "Next steps: legal consultation, trust attorney, asset protection strategy. Wait for her next move." A week later, I sat in an office on the 14th floor of a downtown Phoenix building. Chun and Associates glowed on the frosted glass door. I'd done my research, 5 glowing reviews. One line had stood out: "Protected my assets from family disputes." Richard Chun greeted me with a firm handshake. Mid-50s, calm professional. "You mentioned you're interested in estate planning," he said. I nodded. "I'm 63, retired, with substantial assets. One daughter, married. I'd like to discuss setting up an irrevocable trust." He took notes. Irrevocable trusts are powerful for asset protection. But once you place assets in them, they can't be reclaimed or changed. The beneficiaries you choose are permanent. "Are you sure this is the route you want?" "I'm sure," I said. "I've spent a long time thinking about what kind of legacy I want, and I want it handled according to my values, not anyone else's expectations." He nodded slowly. "Then let's get started." When Celeste came asking for $100,000 a month later, I didn't give her money. I gave her a neatly sealed envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, documentation of the new trust. Every cent of my estate was now legally bound, out of her reach forever. She looked at it, her face draining of color, then fainted right there on the spot. I stood over her quietly, the way a man does when the storm has finally passed. I didn't feel revenge. I felt relief. Because love isn't measured by what you give, it's measured by what you stop allowing. The trust would hold whatever assets I transferred: cash, property, investment accounts. Choosing a beneficiary was permanent and critical. Structured properly, there were tax benefits. The process would take 2 to 3 weeks: drafting, reviewing, revising, notarizing, and then formally transferring the assets. The cost was $3,500 for a comprehensive trust and will revision. That worked for my budget. I didn't negotiate. This wasn't a casual inquiry. We spent another 40 minutes going over details. I presented my financial overview objectively, without emotion. Chen asked technical questions about tax basis, estate valuation, and potential challenges. He was professional throughout and never pressed me on personal motivations. By 3:30, we shook hands. "I'll have draft documents ready in 3 days," he said. "We'll schedule a review once you've examined them." Driving back to Scottsdale, traffic on the I-10 thickened as the afternoon sun climbed higher. By the time I reached home, my phone showed 2 missed calls from Celeste. She'd been calling more frequently since our tense visit 10 days ago, testing the waters, trying to rebuild rapport. I called back. "Dad, I was hoping to catch you. How was your day?" "Fine. Some appointments." "What's going on with you?" "Oh, The usual chaos at work. But I wanted to tell you something interesting. Her tone shifted, careful, controlled enthusiasm. Stuart and I met some friends last week. They're opening a coffee franchise. Apparently, specialty coffee can be lucrative these days. They mentioned the business model, and I thought of you. You always understood commercial properties and investments. What's their concept? Who's managing it? I asked. I don't have all the details yet, she replied, but it sounds solid. Local roasting, community focus, that sort of thing. I'll find out more. We spoke for 10 minutes. She asked about my week, shared stories about work, mentioned Stuart casually. For a brief moment, the conversation felt almost normal. Almost. 3 days later, Chen emailed the draft trust documents. I printed every page, reviewing them carefully at my kitchen table. The irrevocable nature of the trust was clear. The grantor hereby permanently and irrevocably transfers. The beneficiary line was blank, waiting for my decision. That evening, I researched Arizona Veterans Charities. One stood out, Arizona Veterans Alliance. Transparent finances, strong ratings, 87% of funds going directly to programs for homeless veterans. Annual reports were public, board members' credentials listed. I emailed Sean with my instructions. Arizona Veterans Alliance, Phoenix chapter, as the beneficiary, with an explicit addition to the will stating my daughter would receive nothing unless she accepted the trust terms without challenge within 30 days. His reply came within an hour. Enforceable under Arizona law. Revisions noted. 2 days later, Celeste called. Dad, remember that coffee franchise? They're looking for investors. It's a limited opportunity. They only want a few partners who understand business. Would you look at their business plan, just for your opinion? Send it to me. I'll take a look, I said. The email arrived at 4:47 p.m. 23 pages of poorly formatted text, unrealistic projections, generic market research, inexperienced management, and a buried request. $100,000 for a 15% stake. I read it twice. Margin notes, full of critiques, compared numbers to industry standards. None of it made sense. I replied, interesting. Let me think about it for a week. Her response came 2 minutes later. Of course, Dad. Take all the time you need. Though they need confirmation by the end of the month, other investors are interested. But no pressure. Family comes first, and I wanted you to have the first chance. Family comes first. I closed my laptop. The trust documents were ready, finalized, notarized, April 25th. 5 days before her April 30th deadline. Perfect timing. When Celeste and Stuart showed up at my house, portfolio in hand, ready to pitch, I was prepared. I greeted them warmly, masking every calculation running through my mind. I served coffee. They spread their documents on the table. Stuart's voice was rehearsed and confident, walking me through demographics, growth potential, and 25% projected returns. I asked questions. Who manages day-to-day operations? What restaurant experience do they have? Stuart's confidence wavered. The franchise provides training, he said, but that wasn't my question. Celeste intervened, softening her voice, mentioning starting a family. Obvious manipulation. I observed, detached, calculating. I let them present their case, then paused. That's reasonable. If it's a solid opportunity, it can withstand 7 days of due diligence, I said. Celeste's face fell. Her expectations crumbled before my calm assertion. I watched them leave, still debating what went wrong, still believing they might sway me. I returned to my office. The manila envelope with notarized documents sat exactly where I placed it. Trust finalized, assets transferred, conditions in place. She had asked for $100,000. She would get something else. Friday arrived. Celeste walked in, confident, expecting an easy victory. I raised my hand before she could dive into business talk. Before investments, we need to talk about family, values, and trust, I said. Her expression changed. Sure, Dad. What's on your mind? When you canceled our Hawaii trip, you said Stuart's job was at risk. I believed you. Then I saw your Facebook posts. Maui, with Stuart, Glenn, and Nora. You weren't in trouble. You just didn't want me there. Color drained from her face. Dad, I can explain. It wasn't like that. Stop. Stewart's work was fine. The photos show luxury resorts, snorkeling, luau, no financial stress. You lied to exclude me. You chose them over your father. Her strategy faltered. Okay, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, but this was months ago. Can we move past it? This investment is about our future. I slid the envelope across the table. I'm not giving you $100,000. Take this instead. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Confusion, comprehension, shock, words she couldn't ignore. Irrevocable trust. Arizona Veterans Alliance. House and assets transferred. She stood, unsteady, papers falling. Dad, what did you do? Why would you? You chose the Morrisons' approval over your father. I chose to support something that actually deserves it. Veterans who serve their country, not a daughter who lies to my face. Silence filled the room. Outside, life continued. She left stunned. The documents contained a conditional $50,000 for her only if she accepted the trust without challenge after my death. She didn't see it. She left. Days passed. Voicemails filled with anger, tears, disbelief. Then Glenn Morrison called, cold and threatening legal challenges, questioning my competency. I reviewed it all, calmly documenting every interaction, every timestamp. Tuesday, a FedEx envelope arrived. A formal demand to dissolve the trust, questioning my mental capacity. I called Chin immediately. They can claim diminished capacity or undue influence, he explained. Even without evidence, they're hoping you panic. But we have advantages. The trust predates their money request by 5 days. You were represented. Your intent was clear and rational. So what do we do? I asked. Get ahead of it, Chun said. And that's exactly what I planned out. I instructed Chun to arrange a full medical evaluation, physical and psychological, dated now, right in the middle of their challenge. It would show that I was fully aware, fully competent, and confident in my mental state. Chun nodded, opening his laptop. We'll formally respond, he said. We'll note that the trust was properly executed, you were fully competent, and any litigation will be vigorously defended. If we prevail, we'll also seek recovery of attorney's fees under Arizona law for frivolous claims. I agreed. Set it up. Whatever evaluations you need. Driving home, the Superstition Mountains glowed in the sunset. Orange and purple, breathtaking, indifferent. My phone rang. Celeste. I hesitated, then answered. Dad, Glenn says we have grounds to fight this, she said, her voice hard, stripped of the tears and desperation from Friday. He says you weren't thinking clearly. We're going to prove you weren't in your right mind when you signed those papers. You gave away your inheritance to complete strangers. You cut me out over one mistake. How was that rational? I stayed calm. I've never been more rational in my life, I said quietly. And you'll learn that if you proceed in court. I hung up and sat in my darkening living room, phone finally silent. For the first time, I felt the full weight of what I'd set in motion. Not regret. I'd do it again, but the stark reality that this battle would be real. The Morrisons had resources, legal knowledge, and motivation. They'd make it ugly. I opened my notebook to a fresh page. Defense strategy June. Medical evaluations. Psychological assessment. Document timeline. Chen's response letter. Investigate their real intentions with the money. The last item was curiosity more than necessity. The coffee franchise story had always felt weak. What were they really after? The evaluations began. First, my primary physician, full physical, blood work, cognitive screening. Then a neurologist, memory tests, executive function evaluation. Finally, a psychologist, warm and professional, office filled with soft light and greenery. Your family has raised concerns about your mental capacity, she said. For my assessment today, I see no evidence of cognitive impairment, depression, or diminished judgment. Can you explain in your own words why you made these estate decisions? I explained calmly, factually. Celeste had lied about significant matters. I had redirected my estate to causes I believed deserved support rather than rewarding deception. It was deliberate, considered, and legally advised. The reports came back within a week. Excellent physical health at 63, cognitive function nearly perfect, and a psychological evaluation confirming clear, logical thinking, and full awareness of my actions. Meanwhile, the Morrisons began their campaign. Tom Bradley, a former colleague, emailed a screenshot of Celeste's Facebook post. Sometimes the people you love most need help they won't accept. Watching a parent struggle with difficult decisions is heartbreaking. Sending strength to everyone dealing with aging family members. Tom explained that Glenn had been telling people I'd lost my grip, giving away my estate to strangers. Some are starting to believe it, he warned. I met Tom at the golf course a few days later. He mentioned the coffee franchise again. I realized there was no franchise, no investors. Glenn had only wanted money for a house renovation and a boat. The pieces clicked. Tom agreed to provide a signed statement detailing the truth. By mid-June, my defense package was complete. 3 medical evaluations, a psychological assessment, a timeline proving the trust preceded their request, Tom Bradley's sworn statement, and proof of Celeste's Hawaii deception. Chin reviewed it. Excellent, he said. They can't claim impairment, and the timeline shows rational intent. Tom's statement destroys their credibility. If they proceed, they risk sanctions for frivolous claims. The 10-day deadline passed with no lawsuit. Then Celeste texted, "Dad, can we talk? Just you and me. No lawyers, please." I showed Chun. That's the different approach, he said. They wanted to negotiate, not litigate. I arranged the meeting for Friday afternoon. Prepared like a business negotiation, I had Tom's statement and the Hawaii screenshots on the coffee table. Celeste arrived, pale, hands trembling. I allowed a stiff hug and waited. "I've had weeks to think," she began softly. "I was wrong. I prioritized the wrong things. I'm sorry." Her voice was earnest, but I'd heard enough. "Before we discuss the trust, let's discuss truth," I said, sliding Tom's statement across. Her face went pale. The evidence was clear. The coffee franchise was fake, the Hawaii trip pre-planned. Glenn and Nora had orchestrated the lies. She tried to defend herself. I stayed calm. "You had choices at every step. You chose to lie about Hawaii. You chose a fake investment. You chose them over me. Own your choices." Her eyes filled again. "Then give me one more chance. I'll fix things with Stuart's parents. I'll be better." I explained the conditional provision in the trust, $50,000 for her after my death, only if she accepted it without challenge, and only if she confessed the truth in front of Stuart, Glenn, and Nora, with Chun as witness. She recoiled. "You want me to destroy my marriage. Whether it damages your relationships depends on what they're built on," I said quietly. "Truth and $50,000, or lies and nothing. The trust doesn't change either way." She stormed out. I sat in the empty room, papers in hand, recognizing the price of honesty in a family built on lies. The Veterans Charity received their first quarterly distribution, $8,000, helping 3 homeless veterans. Real people, real impact. Weeks later, Celeste agreed. I forwarded the confirmation to Chun. Saturday arrived. Celeste, Stuart, Glenn, and Nora were all present. I oversaw the confession, and Chun notarized the conditional $50,000 trust for her. She signed. The Morrisons left furious. Stuart stayed distant. After Chin departed, I opened a letter from the Arizona Veterans Alliance, thanking me for the distribution. I walked to my laptop and finalized the Maui reservation. Ocean view, snorkeling at Malakani Crater, sunset dinner. Alone but free. At 63, I finally understood that freedom isn't given. It's taken, one decision at a time. The house was peaceful. The charity was thriving. The silence from Celeste, Stuart, and Glenn was victory. I watched the Arizona sunset, beautiful and harsh. Like truth, I had won, not through revenge, but by taking control, keeping my integrity, and doing real good. That like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you.